segment number 2 of Guys in Jerseys podcast number 2. Let's jump right into it. Biggest news probably of the day of all sports, Kyler Murray fully committing to football.
Well, I know you got some pretty strong feelings on this, so why don't you go ahead and start this one off?
I mean, he's a guy who's drafted 9th overall in baseball. 9th overall.
But you don't think he can be a top 10 pick in the NFL?
I mean, I think he will be a top 10 pick. Would I take him top 10? No. I mean, that's just my take on it. I just don't. I think he has more of an upside as a baseball player.
I mean, you could look at his size. I agree. I mean, he would be the shortest player.
Oh, for sure. By far. Since like Doug Flutie.
Yeah. They have him listed at 5'10", but I mean, we've both heard some things. Yeah, we've both heard some things that he's more like a 5'8", 5'9" player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the speed. He's one of the most fast dudes on the football field all time. There's no doubt he can't throw the ball.
I think his arm too. It's just
but you're getting behind those 6'5" linemen. I mean,
I just think, to me, watching him play in the Alabama game, he got hit hard. I do give him credit though for being like, you know what, I want to get back on it. I'm going to stick to football. I mean, I like his drive and his courage, but I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that was a great college quarterback. He won the Heisman. I just don't see him panning out in the NFL. I could be completely wrong. You know what I mean? It's just my take on it.
I mean, look back. There's plenty of guys that have won the Heisman as quarterbacks coming out of college.
And have been bigger and not done anything. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's going to be tough for him. I mean, what if he comes out in the combine and he really is that 5'9" and he doesn't look that good?
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to hurt him.
I mean, but they still got the tape to back him up, but he's also not playing against pro football players that have done this for however many years, and that I just don't know how he's going to have to stay out of the pocket. I don't think he can stand in the pocket. I don't think he's going to be able to.
It's going to be tough.
They're not going to be able to run under the center with him because he's so small. I mean, he's going to need those 5-10 step dropbacks. He's going to need to be out of the gun. This would be interesting. We'll talk, since we're already talking about that, this big board.
Yes.
Mel Kiper's updated big board. He currently has him at number 8 and the second quarterback off behind Dwayne Haskins, which I can't disagree with that. Dwayne Haskins is the best quarterback in the
league. For sure.
Anybody else here that you would like to touch on? Nick Bosa.
I think
we both agree on that. He's the number one best player.
Without a doubt. I think Kevin White, too, linebacker from LSU. I think he can move sideline to sideline very quick. I mean, he is shorter, too. I think that's another knock on him, maybe. But other than that, he moves sideline to sideline pretty quick for a linebacker.
For being 240 pounds, I watched film on this guy. He's fast.
For sure.
The time it takes him to close on the play, to close on the ball carrier, anything like that, he's fast. He's got the speed, and he can definitely lay some hits. Where do you think Dwayne Haskins is going to go?
Look, it's going to be tough because, the Cardinals, they have the number 1 pick. They picked Rosen last year. They come on, pick a quarterback this year. I don't foresee them picking a quarterback.
Yeah, I think if you're the Cardinals, you got to take.
You got the Raiders there at 4, even though I think they have a quarterback in Carr, which I wouldn't pick another quarterback because I obviously need bigger needs. I see him with the Giants, maybe Jaguars taking him, I think.
One of those 2 teams, those are the 2 teams that I think need to do something.
I mean, if you're the Giants, you have to take him.
Dwayne Haskins and Saquon Barkley in the backfield.
You have to take him.
I mean, they passed on quarterbacks last year, and everybody was looking at him like, what are you doing? But they got Saquon, and obviously that panned out. So if they can take Haskins and he pans out, those 2 young guys, I mean, that's their franchise right there. They building on that. With Odell, too.
They also have Odell, who he loves running deep routes. Haskins has big enough arms to run a deep route. And he's a bigger quarterback, too. So the cold, holding the ball in the pocket, he will just be a complete field general for them.
Absolutely.
I have to take him.
We both saw him play up here at MSU. I mean, we got to see how big he actually was.
He's 6'3" listed, but he was as big as his offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they had Tate Martell stand next to him, and he head and shoulders above him.
Towered over him.
Another thing I want to touch on, I get Ed Oliver didn't really play this much. I don't like how he dropped from one of the top 5 picks. I mean, he's still that player. He just didn't get to show it as much.
Well, and this is also pre-combine and pre-pro days, so he could have a great pro day and move up. Like I was talking about, Kyler Murray, he could have a bad pro day and move down. Ed Oliver's one of those guys where he's a freak. I mean, he was previously 7th, so I think he will potentially probably move up without a doubt. I mean, like over.
I think he's got a lot to prove,
Oh, for sure, because I mean, he had the.
Everybody's doubting him. He was coming out as supposed to be the number 1 pick, and all of a sudden they're talking mid to late round.
He had the running with his coach about the jacket thing on the sideline. I think he'll be fine. Just watching him play, he's a beast. He's a freak. Even though he played at Houston, it doesn't really matter to me.
Two more big-time players on this list that I got to see, both the defensive linemen from Mississippi State, Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat. Both of them are straight ballers, game changers.
For sure.
I can't disagree with them being in the top 25. I'd like to see Christian Wilkins,
yes.
up a little more there.
I mean, he's a guy that he played 4 years in college. Credit to him. Won 2 national championships.
Absolutely.
He's a true leader.
Yeah. I mean, he's had stats each year that he's played.
Exactly.
He's made a difference all 4 of those years. I don't like, on the other hand, how they have the Georgia corner DeAndre Baker at number 10, and then no Julian Love anywhere close. I seen a mock draft. They didn't have Julian Love coming off the board till 40.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch Julian Love play, he's
I
obviously
totally
that national.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, the national semifinal. Julian Love went out of the game, and Notre Dame secondary got exploited.
For sure.
Julian Love was back in. The game's
For
different. I think Love's stats were better than Baker. I think the film's up there with Baker. I think he should be. That's one.
The only thing that's going to separate them is he played maybe just a little bit more elite, outside guys.
Exactly. I agree.
With Baker, and maybe he had maybe a better, team. Stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He wasn't exposed as much maybe because they didn't throw to him as much. I think that kind of thing. But I mean, it's one of those things where there's not a lot of great cornerbacks this year, obviously, from this. So he's the best. So you're going to push him up. Like I said, the pro days and the combine are really, really going to determine.
There's going to be a lot of change
how
in
good
this.
these guys really are.
Before the draft is in April, late April?
Yeah, early April.
Late April.
The combine's next month.
I think there's going to be a lot of changes in this. I think there's going to be a lot of players that surprise a lot of people, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are highly touted that drop pretty far.
And you're also going to hear more stuff about some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuff like
that. Well, because a lot of these guys up here aren't really in the national spotlight all the time. Like Mississippi State, if you don't watch football every weekend, chances are you don't know many of those players.
Exactly.
A lot of these guys that are up here aren't in the big spotlight, so it'll get their names out and people actually be able to see that.
For sure.
Devin Bush, he's a great linebacker.
He's coming off the injury.
He's undersized. I just don't know if he can be a top 10.
I think he'd be more of like a nickel or like a safety.
I can see him getting moved back there. Exactly.
You just got to. He's one of those guys. You got to use him in the right frame. You can't come in and say, "Look, you're gonna have to do this." He's gonna have to be kind of a hybrid kind of guy. The other guy I like, Greg Little. I think, he's 21 on this. I think he's big. He's one of those dudes from SEC that you look at. He's big body, but can he put it all together? I think that's why he's only down here, 21. But I think if he really put it all together and really wanted to be a great pro, I think he could probably be maybe the best player out of this class.
Absolutely. And then I've been talking about Mississippi State the whole time. Jonathan Abram, the safety from Mississippi State. I think that's going to be the best defensive back in the draft. Safety and corner. I've watched him. He's a good player. That's just my personal opinion. He's a good player. I think he's a game-changing safety that somebody's going to have a franchise safety where they pick him up.
For sure.
And that's going back to that size about Devin Bush is Jonathan Abram was taller than him and only 15 pounds less. You can put Devin Bush at safety. That might.
You could. They're going to start using guys, I think, in the NFL a lot in different ways.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? More, I think we're gonna kind of start seeing guys where they fit in their little niche, and how good can they be in that kind of role? I think that will help a lot of people when that happens.
I will say, I think there's some defensive players in this draft. The whole draft coming out. This is defense heavy, and I think there's a lot of players here that are gonna have really good careers in the NFL throughout this draft.
Sure.
This is a really strong draft class for defense. I think there's a lot of teams that are gonna get better on defense this way, and I'm pretty excited to see what happens here. I'm excited to see Haskins play and see what happens with that. Obviously, Kyler Murray made the decision.
Well,
that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. That's
probably the most talked about thing going into the draft. Into next season.
They have him listed at 5'10", 195. There's no way.
He's small, but like I said, if he has that motor, he gets put in the right system with the right coach.
He can be dangerous. I mean, we saw what he can do.
I mean, he could be good, but you never know. You know, he could not like the NFL and want to go back to baseball. You know what I mean? It's tough.
And the thing is, he's such a good player at baseball. He'll be able to do that.
Yeah,
anybody's going to be able to take him.
Yes.
So, I mean, nobody's going to turn that down for sure.
No, it would just be tough for him, obviously, because of his size.
But obviously, there's a lot of changes going to go on. This is just right now pre-draft, pre-combine, pre-pro
that's the
days.
biggest thing.
But this is initial. We'll see what happens come April. What really changed up
For sure.
So now that's about all the draft talk that's really there's to talk about right now before the combine. So we can go into spring training. Bryce Harper, free agents. I mean, there's still kind of a lot of free agents hanging out.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that your top free agents are just not signed. I think we looked 13 of the top 50 free agents from CBS.com. They were unsigned. That's crazy to me. The top two obviously unsigned. The two biggest names, Harper and Machado. I mean, those guys they're generational players. They're
Absolutely.
young. They're not even in the prime of their career yet. And it's just hard to believe. But they're looking for that $300 million. And I don't think owners anymore are willing to shell out $300 million.
Well, when you read Justin Verlander's tweet earlier, nobody wants to take the chance.
Well,
everybody wants to rebuild, but nobody wants to start with these two players,
Exactly.
which I don't understand why. I'd love to have one of those two players.
I think it's the money thing. That's why I think Harper. I mean, we have the new odds that came out today. The Giants are by far the favorite.
And they just pulled into this not very long ago.
Like a week ago.
But also they prefer a short term deal, which I think that's what everybody does.
That's what I would give them. I would give them. Look, I'll give you 5 years. I'll give you your $200 million. That's $40 million a year. You take a bet on yourself. You come back out when you're 30. I would do that for Harper. With Machado, it would be maybe a 2-3 year deal.
See, I don't think Machado quite deserves that 10-year big breaking deal yet. He's a great player.
Yes, he is. But he's not MVP generational guy like Bryce Harper. I mean, and the other thing with Bryce Harper is you have him on your team, he's going to get people in the seats.
Exactly. Everybody wants to come watch Bryce Harper play. I mean, they're both 26 years old, so they're still...
they still, like I said, they're not even in the prime of their career yet.
No, not at all.
No, but, I mean, I foresee Harper resigning with the Nationals, though, because of the fact that they gave him a $300 million offer for 10 years. And if that's really what he wants, I feel like he's really going to... I'd go back. He has the ties there. He's most comfortable. And that's a big thing, too, the factor of being comfortable at a ballpark every day. He's come up since he was 19 there, so I think that's big. Do you want to go from the East Coast to the West Coast? It's going to be tough. It would just be really tough.
I mean, like you said, that's the only team that's offered him what he asked.
For sure.
Position players report next week.
Yeah.
For spring training, so something's going to happen here.
I mean, it's going to have to. It would be shocking for me to say that they're going to set out a whole spring training, knowing that they're still doing their own training, but it's different. There's a lot of these guys, you look at the list. Dallas Keuchel, Cy Young winner. He's a great pitcher. He could help a staff that is young, give him a short-term deal. Craig Kimbrell. I mean, that's the crazy thing is all these guys are looking for big money, and it's in a generation now where I think owners are not willing to spend.
Exactly, because owners are trying to win, and they don't want to commit to a player for so
long
with so much money.
If we pay this guy this big money,
and then he doesn't work out, we're stuck paying him.
I think that's the toughest thing because there's great players. You look at the list, great players.
I mean, it goes all the way down.
Yeah, Adam Jones was in his prime, arguably the best center fielder in the game. There is just great players that you're just looking at and you're going, wow. They're unsigned.
Clay Buchholz. He's getting up there.
It's
crazy. There's a lot of good veteran starting pitchers.
There's a lot of guys that can help teams.
Yeah.
Maybe a young team on the rise. They could help them out.
You got that veteran. You got experience.
Exactly.
It's going to help in the long run if they did that.
It just goes back to, like I said, the owners aren't willing to spend in a generation where, we're used to, everybody getting big money deals.
If you look at the other sports, everybody's breaking record deals lately. And
baseball's known for that.
Going the opposite way.
That's just, I think, everything that's driven through the analytics and everything is don't pay guys big money if we know that they're not going to pan out. And which is crazy to think that you wouldn't pay Harper that kind of money.
He's a star.
It's hard for these guys to do. Like I said, it would be tough. It would be tough for me to see them not be signed maybe by next week, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So what do you think? What do you think about the Phillies offseason? They got McCutchen. I believe they just traded for JT Realmuto from the Marlins. They were obviously thought they were going to get Harper or Machado.
Well, I mean, I think they're still in the pool. I think that they're waiting. I think the one that they must most likely have and most want, I think, is Machado, just on the fact that they need infield help. But, I mean, they've done great. I think it all sets up for the Mike Trout, I think, in 2020 when he becomes a free agent, bring back the Philly kid. I think that's what it sets up for. I mean, they would love to have, obviously Harper and Trout on the same team, but could you imagine? I think they're kind of looking at it like, could we imagine paying two guys $80 million together? Because, I mean, Mike Trout is that guy where you're going to pay him $40 million.
I mean, I believe they signed Andrew McCutchen to a pretty large deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy to look at that. But, I mean, that's always a deal where it's like he's a veteran help piece.
He's been an all-star. He's still playing good baseball.
Exactly. He hit better once he moved out of San Francisco with the Giants, more hitter-friendly park. I think that will definitely help him. But, no, obviously they want to go in. But a lot of teams in that division, the Mets are going in on it, going pretty hard. The Nationals signed, some big-name players.
You still got the Braves.
I mean, the Braves, I think that they're going to be the team.
I think that was your pick.
I think that they're going to be the team to beat. They had Josh Donaldson. They had the young players that I think are ready to really take that next step.
Yeah, they were your pick to make the World Series.
Yeah, they're just going to be a tough division. But I honestly could see the Mets not panning out. I could see the Phillies maybe taking a step back. The Braves could even take a step. It's just one of those years with that division where it's so, everybody's kind of the same, so everybody's going in after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, I would foresee Harper to probably stay in that division, honestly.
It wouldn't surprise me, not at all.
No. I mean, we talked about the Yankees with Machado for a second. Let's talk about that. They offered him, I guess, a 7-year, $220 million deal.
Somewhere around that, I believe.
If I'm Machado, I'd take that deal.
Absolutely. Plus it's the New York Yankees.
You have to. I mean, I know
they're a playoff team,
and they're ballparks that he is comfortable with. He's hit it before.
Exactly.
They're all hitter-friendly parks, and you're on a team where you don't have to be the number one guy, so you're not looked at. You wouldn't be the most highest paid contract on that team, so you're not really looked at as And if anything, else doesn't work, and they have Didi Gregorius come back, then maybe they will trade you. I mean, it's one of those things too. But if I'm him, $220 million is put in my.
And that's a team that's most likely going to be playing in the playoffs.
Well, for sure. I mean, even if in the wild card,
it's good. Obviously, you got the Red Sox, but
I mean, they could always take a dip back. But obviously, it's the Yankees. I'm just surprised the Yankees have yet to pay somebody either.
Exactly.
That's the big thing.
I agree.
You have all these guys that could help them get over the hump, get over the Red Sox, and it's crazy to think that they will not overpay. The Red Sox had the highest payroll last year, so I'm surprised. Really, it's the other shot.
People are seeing what they're doing. They just won the World Series. They actually dominated the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't close.
You go out and you pay big bucks, and owners just aren't willing to spend that anymore, which is very, very hard to believe.
And you got these guys that are seeing people make all this money, get paid all this money. That's what they want too. Now all of a sudden, nobody wants to pay them.
Exactly.
So I think it's gonna be interesting. I still can't believe we're a week out of reporting from spring training. All these big names are still out here. I can't remember a time that
there's never been. Maybe one guy,
but this many.
It's crazy. I mean, there's a total of over 100 of them. But there's been great signings that I think kind of you can kind of draws the back of it. You know what I mean? But
I think a big thing is a lot of people are waiting to see what happens with Harper and Machado.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot.
I also read a thing that neither of them wants to sign first.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Your owners kind of getting a little match. I want my guy to get the most paid. But it's hard to believe that the pitching market is so slow. Moustakas, you see the Josh Donaldson deal. You look third baseman. Maybe kind of getting that wheelhouse. But the Craig Kimbrell thing, when Andrew Miller's already re-signed and people like that, it's hard to believe.
It's just people are passing up these really good players that can help their team out in the long run.
I think it will. I think we're gonna see. I think this week, going into next week, I think a lot of these guys potentially will sign just on the fact that they're gonna be like, "Am I really not there? How does this? I think it's gonna hurt. You know what I mean? Because even if you do sign with the team later in spring training or right before the opening day, I mean, that's tough. That is really tough.
Yeah, you're out on your own doing your training. But you miss a whole month of
Well, and you're
new
not seeing them
teammates,
live,
interacting with them, live playing, all this other stuff. I think these next 2 weeks are going to be big. I think there's going to be a lot of signings. I think it'll be interesting to see who picks up who.
It just comes down to the money. That's
absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Harper and Machado, neither of them want to sign first because one of them signs, somebody else wants that same deal.
Well,
so they want somebody to set the bar for them so the other one can get that same deal.
Yes.
I think to use that deal as leverage. Well, he got paid this much. I think I don't think
it's going to work though because you're kind of comparing two.
They're different players.
Great players. They're all-star players. Machado could win an MVP someday, but you're looking at a generational player who is well beloved.
Absolutely.
Compared to Manny Machado, who's shown some dirty plays, stuff like that, which I don't think hurts his stock at all. But it just, for a fan's sake, you're going to say, well, I'd much rather want Harper than I'd want Machado.
Absolutely. So we're talking about baseball. What are you thinking? Way too early predictions for, we can throw out MVP, Cy Young, or just playoffs in general. Who do you think is going to be a surprise team this year? Who do you think is going to be back there? Just anything like that. Just a little baseball talk.
Well, I think a surprise team could be the Cardinals. You get Paul Goldschmidt.
That was a huge deal.
Andrew Miller. I think I think they won 88 games last year. So you add a big bat, an MVP caliber bat, and perennial all-star, relief pitcher. I think they could be that team that comes out and tears it up and gets back in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think keep on that division. I think the Brewers aren't going to be that team again this year.
Well, I think. It depends on what they do. If they come in, they resign Moustakas, say they do that. Maybe they, do a little deal with Kimbrel. Stuff like that. They could be, but they want. They still have great players.
They do. You can't. They have the reigning MVP on their team
for sure.
But I'm just saying, they kind of came out of nowhere from players that just had the best years of their career, pretty much.
Exactly.
Can they repeat that again?
It's gonna be tough. It's always tough to see that kind of stuff happen.
Especially, obviously, both of us being Cubs fans, yes. We got one of the toughest divisions in baseball.
Like I said, the Cardinals, I think they'll be way, way better.
Just Paul Goldschmidt himself improved that.
Yes.
But, it'll be interesting. I think I could agree with that. The Cardinals are going to come out. The Braves last year were another surprise team.
We could see maybe the Phillies jump in the playoffs. Maybe get to the wild card. Last year they kind of slowed down towards the end of the year. Didn't really get in or anything. I think that they could be a team that gets in, obviously, with moves that they've made and potential moves that they could make. But right now, it's so hard telling who can do what because the teams aren't finalized.
Yeah, there's so many signings that still
That's
are
the
going
toughest
to
part.
happen.
You can't say, well, this team's going to be this good because you don't know. We could be talking in 2 weeks maybe about this, and it's still not the same.
Yeah, we might have completely different opinions come 2 weeks, but just while we're on the subject, you might as well, get what we think for now out there. I still think the Red Sox are still my favorite to go to the World Series.
I do like that, but it's hard to repeat. I picked the Astros and the Braves just on the fact that the Astros have been there before. Last year, they kind of got embarrassed by the Red Sox, and I think that they're just going to be better. They have young guys who are now finally kind of slowly moving into their prime, and they added Michael Brantley. It's a great, just veteran player. Not having Kimbrel is going to hurt them. I think the rotation is definitely depleted a little bit, but you still have Garrett Cole and you still have Justin Verlander.
Yeah, absolutely. The Astros, they're going to be back. I 100% believe that.
I think they're going to.
But I just saw how I saw the Red Sox in the playoffs last year.
They dominated.
They didn't get touched, and even the Astros with that great roster couldn't touch them. They manhandled the Dodgers. It's just. If they have another year like that,
but it's one of those. They kept some fire, and that's the other thing.
Yeah, they were hot a lot last year. They were going on streaks.
And who knows if David Price will be that good like he was in the World Series.
So that'll be interesting, I think. Obviously, Cubs hopeful. I think we can win 90 games again.
We could. We can.
We didn't go out and make the moves.
It depends on what we can do with what we have.
Exactly, because we were talking about this earlier. We didn't go out and make those moves that we would have liked to see, but the roster's still there.
I think we're building for the future as well. We talked about. You got to look at the contracts for the future.
Exactly.
But I foresee us. We might be in the Kimbrel talks. I could foresee that for sure.
That's somebody that would really help us out.
I think so. Even if we're in the talks for him, I think that would help. Even if an older guy, somewhere in the wheelhouse where they could really, really help us. I foresee it happen. I think, with Kimbrel still not being signed and how he played in the World Series, I think that could be a guy we go after.
That still just blows my mind that he hasn't been signed after
It's hard to
everything.
believe. But I mean, when you want 5 years, $70 million, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just. I think this is gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a fun year. I think it'll be different. Because I mean, you could have a lot of faces.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of new.
different places.
Exactly, a lot of new faces, a lot of really big time faces in new places. So it'll be interesting. The MLB is definitely what we about a little over a month and a half out from opening day. It's coming in pretty quick, obviously, but give about 2 more weeks. I think this stuff's gonna start going crazy.
I think it will too. Because guys are gonna be like, "Why am I not signed? We need to get signed."
Exactly, 100%. So, other than that, I really don't have much more else that I can touch on.
I mean, the only other thing is look for Harper once he does sign, maybe coming out and saying, "Look, I'm going to be an MVP. He's gotten better." You know, that's my only other thing. Is he could come out and shut the critics up and say, "Look, I'm going to win the MVP," and he goes out and he does it.
Absolutely, I do believe if he signs, say he's the first person to sign, I think it's just going to be a domino.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, either one of those 2 big names sign, I think it's going to be a domino effect to the rest of everybody else getting signed. So that'll be. I think it's going to be a fun 2 weeks here, seeing where everybody goes, because there's no true lock for these people yet.
Well, no, I mean, that's the other thing is, and you can't really judge teams. That's the other hard part is you can't really judge a team going in because you don't know what their roster could look like.
Exactly. I mean, the opening day roster could look completely different from World Series.
Exactly. Or even what their roster is when they first get to spring training.
Yeah. So a lot of changes are going to happen throughout the season. Always does, always will. It'll make that's why baseball is so great.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fun year. Before we get out of here, is there any other MLB, NBA, NFL things that you could think of that you want to touch on before we get?
No, I think we pretty much wrapped it up in 2 videos we did tonight. We're pretty much good.
100% agree. So take her away.
Right. That's gonna do it for us tonight. Go like our Facebook page, follow our Twitter. We got another video coming out Friday. Hopefully Trevor's with us.
And don't be afraid if you guys have any ideas that you want us to bring up, or you have questions on us. Don't be afraid to send those to our Facebook page. A lot of you guys know us personally. Send us any ideas that you guys want brought up in this show, and we'll be more than happy to talk about them.